Hey guys, this is Dan Sobrano, and today I'm going to go over boxing rhythm versus street rhythm, so stay tuned. Okay, so most of us have gone to training in boxing and in the gyms and everything, and we learn combinations. First we learn the singular strikes, and then we combine them, okay, for fighting in the ring or in the street. But the thing is, guys, street rhythm is a lot different than boxing rhythm, especially when you're fighting with no gloves on. And so what I want to go over is the slight differences of the two. And it's very important, especially since you're striking bare knuckle for street fighting. So this video is primarily to teach you how to protect yourself in a self-defense situation using your fists. Okay, it's not a sport thing; it's a street fighting thing. So check out the next segment, and we're going to go over that information. Okay, guys. So in the boxing rhythm, you're going to be taught, jab cross hook, jab cross hook, uppercut, and they have a certain rhythm when you're striking, okay? And it works really well when you go on the bag, when you're striking against your opponents and what have you in a sparring match, and then also when you start fighting in the ring. But what happens when you translate that into a street, it changes the whole way of combination. It gets changed big time, okay? And the reason why is because obviously you're going bare knuckle. Now, when you learn the boxing rhythm, it's taken for granted that you can hit pretty much anywhere without hurting your hands that bad. And the reason why is because, again, you're wearing hand wraps and gloves. But once you take them off, all of a sudden those strikes that you were doing don't work so well because you're hitting hard bony parts of the forearm, the top of the head. And there's just different areas where you didn't feel them before because you were wearing gloves, but now all of a sudden you have them off, and now you're starting to feel them when you're striking, and you're trying to strike hard. You start feeling them in your hands because that didn't happen before because of the gloves. All right? So the next segment we're going to go over why there is that difference. Okay? So stay tuned. Okay. Now, when you do the street fighting rhythm, it's a lot different than the boxing rhythm. What happens is, if I was to take 10 individuals and line them up, and I was to punch each one with a jab, each one, after I punch the jab and I would go to throw a cross, each one would be, their faces and the way they would protect themselves could be different. Like the first guy hit, he might just stand there and takes the hit and just freeze. The next guy hit, all of a sudden he just backs away, so when I throw the cross, it's out of range, okay? The next guy I hit, maybe he puts his hands up, to cover himself, and his elbows are exposed, so then when I hit an elbow, and vice versa down the line, different things change. So each person isn't going to react the same way when I hit him with the same type of punch, So when I add boxing rhythm to that, all of a sudden my pretty punches coming off my combination changes a lot, and all of a sudden I got to take into account all these different movements that this individual is going to make. And it's going to throw him off my fight game, because it didn't work the way I did before because I'm not wearing those gloves, and he's not taking that impact the way he would have if he would have had a glove on, okay? So it changes the whole rhythm and way I'm going to strike in the street fight. But taking those off and training bare knuckle like that, I do learn to take into consideration that's going to happen. So my street rhythm changes. I don't go, 1, 2, 3. I go 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, and all of a sudden I watch how he reacts or what happens with that punch that I threw based upon what I just got done throwing. I know what the next punch and the next punch is going to be after that. I don't have to go really fast about it. I just got to know when I hit him, boom, and I watch what, and I can come in and hit him with the next punch. It opens up gaps and areas that I can strike at. I mean, I might throw a left jolt to the side of his jaw. It turns his head here. Now this area is open. Instead of throwing a hook, I'm going to come down to the overhand and hit him in the side of the throat. Maybe I do hit him in the face and his head goes back. Well, his whole neck's opened up here, and I can throw a punch right into his throat, this area here, okay, based upon how he moved his head. Maybe I missed, okay, I threw my punch, and he moved his head out of the way, and my hand goes past his head. When I bring it back, I can grab his head. Now I can start digging into his face or into the solar plexus as I'm pulling him down and striking him. All because I slowly well, with power, but I slowed and watched what my next punch was going to be based upon how he reacted or how he, moved based upon the strike I threw. Okay, so that's really important when you're fighting in the street. And the more you learn how to do that, the better and more dangerous of a fighter you're going to be. Okay, guys. So the boxing rhythm, again, like I talked to you about, is a lot different than street rhythm. If you're going to box in the ring and everything, then there's nothing wrong with the boxing rhythm and learning how to do that. That's great. I totally endorse it. I believe in it, and it's really good. But for street fighting, you can use your hands for more than just punching. You can grab the guy and start hitting on him, and it's all based on how he reacts to your strikes. Now, if you're striking hard and fast, his head is going to be snapping or his body is going to be moving based upon that strike. After you struck him and he reacts to it or his body moves to that, that will give you a gauge of what next you should be throwing, what kind of a punch you're going to be throwing and how you're going to throw it, But you won't get that if you just blindly come off a certain type of combination and think I'm going to run that combination on this individual. It doesn't work that way, And that's why when you go to that, start doing street rhythm and start, deliberately watching what you're doing, and gauging that for the next strike will help you and make you go a long way from not hurting your hands, okay? Now, the way you can train it with a partner in the gym is, you have them put headgear, and, I would just put on hand wraps to begin. You just put on hand wraps, gives you a little bit of cush, but it kind of simulates the, bare knuckle striking, and gives you a little bit of cush for your partner, and go about 40%, 50%, and have him put the headgear on. And then just start hitting him, and if you want, you can put the headgear on yourself, so that you both can train, and the hand wrap, so you can both train this. And so you start hitting them on each other. You'll see, based upon how you move from getting hit that way, what the next punch you should do and attack with, and hit the other guy with, And as you get more and more comfortable with that, you start realizing how not so fast you're going to be punching. You can get some nice, hard, strong power, but you're going to not just let it go like, just nilly-willy, because there's a consequences to every strike you throw. And when you throw solidly and hard and everyone is counted for, it makes for a dangerous and more thorough fighter, okay? And it doesn't, it doesn't create that area where you can injure yourself really easily, because once you injure yourself and break your hand or something, then you're a one-armed fighter, and in a street fight, you don't want to be that, okay? So you want to be able to, go and take this guy out, but at the same time, you want to keep your hands from getting injured or broken, so that the chances of you getting retaliated on, and get into a very dangerous situation will be null and void, okay? So street fighting rhythm is the way you want to learn how to fight, especially when you're doing it for self-defense purposes. So again, understand that there is two different versions of that rhythm. You have the boxing version and you have the street fighting version. So depending on which one you want to go with, that's what you should work on the most, okay? There's nothing wrong with street fighting the rhythm. It's good to learn how to flow and move and everything. But once you do that, you modify it and adjust it for the street. You use that street fighting rhythm based upon what kind of movement that individual gets in reaction to your strike, And again, you're going to be hitting hard. You're not going to be like setting up a punch for light punch for a hard punch, No, it doesn't work like that. You want to be hitting them hard with every single punch. Every strike, you want to think of it as being the one that knocks the guy out. So every strike has to be hard and solid for a knockout, because you don't got time to be wasting to, wait for him to go down. 2 or 3 punches, he should be hurting and he should be slowing himself down. I guarantee you, if you train yourself to hit hard for all your strikes like that, he will start to shut down and literally go into a standing fetal position and slow himself down with every strike, because every strike is solid, hard, and on target, and all of a sudden his body will start to shut down. Without even him trying to do that, it just does it automatically, because it's sensory overload, too much pain in different areas of the body, and that gives you the advantage and it gives you the win, okay? So that way you can get away from there and get out of there. So try that, experiment with it, see what I'm talking about, and see how the different rhythms, change based on how you strike, okay? So try that out and work it with your partner and see what you think. Alright guys, this is the end of the video, and I just wanted to go over to explain to you the different types of rhythm, when you're doing a fight, okay? boxing rhythm versus street fighter rhythm. There is a difference, you know. I want you guys to understand there is a difference, and I wanted to clarify that for you, okay? So work on both of them and see which one, you know, you like, you know, because sometimes some guys like the boxing rhythm, no matter what it tell you, they're gonna do it anyway. So at least modify it a little bit so you can so you can understand the street fighting rhythm, so you can see what you're talking about. Take the gloves off and see how that works, you know. I guarantee you, it'll be a lot different when you're punching bare knuckle than when you were sparring with the gloves on, okay? So that's just one thing in itself, but now you gotta add on top of that the openings and strikes you're gonna use with your bare fists, you know, without hurting yourself by hitting the hard parts of the body, you know. You gotta always be ready to keep your hands from getting hurt or broken and injured if that guy don't go down quick enough, you know. And also too, you wanna get out of there in case there's more than one guy, all right? So I want to emphasize, you know, to you guys to learn the street fighting rhythm. If you're going to use this for self-defense purposes, that's the way you want to go, and that's the way you want to train, okay? And it'll make you a better and more wiser fighter in case, you know, of event if someone's going to attack you, all right? So this is Daniel Sombrano telling you, don't just hit them, punch a hole through them. Take care, and we'll talk to you later. Goodbye.